Hey guys, this is one about the preparations of getting married. I've had a couple of DMs from some really lovely ladies asking me that, what kind of things should I be looking out for whilst I'm looking for a husband or in the process of getting married. A lot of you that have messaged are only a few weeks away from getting your nikah done. So I would urge that any of this advice that I'm giving, you sort of try to implement it way before you get to that stage, before families are involved and commitments are made, because there's some details in what you should be looking out for that sometimes we can get accidentally, emotionally and mentally, we can get trapped that, everybody knows now, so I have to go ahead with it regardless. So just make sure that, whoever's seeing this, the earliest stages as possible that this can be implemented, it would be the best for both of you. Now, I know usually marriage advice is for either men or women, and, they tend to prioritize what the other person needs to do for them rather than what they need to be doing for the other person. So as a Muslim woman, naturally, I am going to prioritize deen. Now, I know there's a lot of things going around where we mention about men praying their salah, committing to that, etc., etc. But ladies, bit of a wake-up call, and this comes from someone who wasn't practicing a few years ago. You cannot expect a deen-loving, following husband if you are not following the deen yourself. Now, on the other hand, people are like, well, I don't pray salah, so how can I expect him to pray salah? Salah in itself and having a commitment to your deen provides you with a level of calmness, balance and reflection, and it constantly reminds you that you are answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, unless this is something you have implemented in your life, it's going to be very hard for you to expect that from the other person. And without having that basic grounding in your deen, it's going to be a very difficult start to most Muslim marriages. The prioritization of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your life provides you so much, which then moves me on to the element of character. Now, character can be quite a confusing thing to put in place because usually we relate that to how people are socially. But character is a lot deeper issue than we've ever given it credit for. Character is about integrity, honesty, and loyalty. Now, if you mix that with the prioritizing deen, are they committed, integral and honest with themselves and their commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before you try and spread them to be loyal to you as a spouse? We as human beings are very fickle individuals, and if we don't have a higher priority, a higher reason for doing things, we tend to end up neglecting the parts of the relationships we have here on earth with humans. There has to be a no excuse behavior type mentality. And this is why I say about implementing and researching these things way before you end up getting a date for a nikah. Because you can only tell a person's character and integrity to the maximum extent before you get married by being in certain scenarios. So when they're tempted by something out in the world, or when they have an opportunity to lie and cheat about something, do they take that opportunity? All those things are going to leak into your marriage. And I hate to bust the bubble, but love does not conquer it all. I know we live in a very Bollywood, Hollywood style mentality where if he loves me, he would just do it. If she loves me, she would just do it. It's not true. You have to have a moral integrity. Your own moral compass has to be strong enough. And as an individual, you don't know what that other person's is. So you have to analyze them. You have to watch them and you have to ask questions. Now, anyone can give you a perfect answer face to face, like, I would never do that. I would never do that. Of course I wouldn't. But attending family dinners, attending situations where you are somewhat social with them so you can see how they behave with other people. And that stuff takes time. And I know, especially in our deen, people are like, just get the nikah done, just get the nikah done, because everybody's so concerned about their respect in the community. But my argument there would be, as individuals, we need to learn to control our own nafs. Control your desires, control them enough to a point where you can be around this person with a wali without falling into sin. It's the only way you'll be able to fathom a concept of their emotional intelligence. How do they deal with other people? How do they speak to the waiter? How do they respond to their mum when when they've had a disagreement of some kind? All these things are going to give you clues of how you're going to be treated later on. One of the biggest points I would say in this whole video is, what is somebody's commitment to the marriage versus commitment to the person? Now, as I said to you before, human beings are very fickle creatures, and even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has acknowledged that. So you need to look for someone that's committed to the notion and the sanctity of marriage, rather than just blown over in love with you and trying to run off in the distance, you know, into La La Land. Because La La Land, when the veil lifts, it hits hard. That light shines really bright in your eyes. So you have to find someone that is ready to be a spouse, not necessarily looking for a spouse to fulfill their needs. Are they ready to fulfill theirs? And that brings me on to alignment of values. Now, we live in a day and age where there is endless resources and so many sheikhs, alams, ustad, muftis that are giving advice on what marriage should be and how it should be. And in this day and age, I would urge Muslim couples to share lectures with your potential spouse, watch them together, share them, and ask for honest feedback, because everybody's angle on things is slightly different. And personally, with a lot of the investigation I've done, I've realized that the Arabic language, Quranic Arabic, is far more complicated than we try to make it out. Like, for example, Qawam, you know, we've now translated that, I don't know about any other culture, but in Pakistani culture, as authority over women. When actually, when you look into the research of what Qawam means, it means a caretaker. Or the authority element is not really in there. That's us translating to what we understand. So it's really important that you discuss these values, discuss these elements of your deen and of your marriage that you want to go ahead and align with, because they could be worlds apart. You can't just assume that someone's a Muslim, so therefore they believe what I believe. Unfortunately, you have to dig deeper than that. Check on the family dynamics. How do they want to live? How do they currently live? What is that kind of scenario? And when they say don't settle, what they mean is don't go against your natural instinct of what you know will make you happy, because later down the line, that's only going to cause fights. Does he want to live with family? You're unsure about it. We'll do it for a few years, blah, blah, blah. Don't rush into a marriage because you've focused all of that stuff in your heart. Use your brain, balance it out, and if you have to wait. Guys, please check your Nikah Nama. Please check your Nikah paperwork. Okay, there is so many things in there that both couples need to get a translation and to read so they fully understand what they're getting themselves into. I know in the Pakistani community, they kind of avoid the girl seeing the Nikah Nama, or they don't let her know her full rights of what she can do. Ladies, just one aspect, you can actually put a clause in there where you say, I don't accept another marriage to enter the union. But if you don't have that conversation, you'll never know. And when you don't ask those things, and later on these people or these men, for example, want to implement their second marriage rights, you're going to be caught at a loose end. So do research on what your rights are, and I will put a lecture on the screen at the end here that will help some of you figure out what you should and shouldn't be doing in a marriage. Finally, have tawakkul in Allah. Read your Salatul Istikhara. Ensure that your heart and mind are balanced in regards to this person. Don't go with fully your heart. Don't go fully with your mind. There needs to be a balance. There's a Miyana Ravi concept in Islam. Always stay in the middle. Whilst you're doing everything you can, have tawakkul Allah. Inshallah, everything will be fine. And every step of a marriage provides you with so much wisdom and so much knowledge along the way. Be kind to your partner and be kind to yourself, that you're both figuring out this very complicated domain. And let me know if you want a part 2, because trying to squash all this into a 10-minute video it doesn't give the most detail to each point, but I've just run over the things I feel that are important. So let me know if you want a part 2, and good luck, guys. Mwah.